Okay, good morning, everyone. We are up to Os Yud, and he is now going to describe another reason why things happen to us, and that is the concept of a Gilgul. Gilgul literally means a reincarnate. Well, Gilgul, like to roll, and the idea is that souls can be rolled, recycled from one person to another. And he says like this: Od shoresh acher nimtza l'anhagas binyani ha'olam hazeh. There's another reason, there's another root as to why things happen in this world. V'hu shachach ma'alyona sidra laharbos od ha'atzala k'masha kasavti. Hashem facilitated more possible ways that we are able to save ourselves. In other words, a person can live a life, and the goal of our lives the objective of our life is to attain perfection. Attain perfection impacts us and impacts the entire world. But sometimes we could go through life and not necessarily attain that perfection. So God ensured that there are other possibilities, other sources to ensure that we have success. That a certain soul could come back to this world many times in many different bodies. And what that allows for is that in a second life, or a third life, or a fourth life, a person is able to fix what they did not fix in the time before. Either to fix, meaning they did something wrong, they need to fix it, or they didn't attain the perfection they were supposed to attain, and therefore in this next life, they're able to do so. But when it comes to the end of all these rollings, in other words, all the end of these reincarnations, when the person finally attains what they need to attain, and they are judged, they're going to be judged with all those lives together. So imagine you go to judgment and you're judged with not just this life, but the life you had before that, and the life you had before that, and the life you had before that. There's a lot of fascinating questions that are dealt with in terms of over here, like Tchias HaMesim. What does that look like? Tchias HaMesim, which body do you come back in, right? Is it the first body, the second body, the third body, the fourth body? And you have a variety of opinions. You have some. The Ramchal doesn't weigh in on that as far as I know. I mean, he has many other places where he speaks about Gilgulim, although the implication for at least the Ramchal seems to say, he says in other places, that you don't actually come back with the entirety of that old soul, but rather a soul is made up of many components. He describes like a soul, like a Sefer Torah, and a Sefer Torah has to be complete. You could be missing a word, and so you'll come back with a soul which has most things complete except for that word. In other words, it's just a component of that previous soul that comes back into earth, and therefore it's really the original body that is the Iker, is the main one, and when you come back, it's all going to go back to that body. So according to many Kabbalists, which basically say that nowadays we are all Gilgulim, you basically could say goodbye to your body and hope that the body from that previous life is, I don't know, pleasant and nice. But that is certainly one approach. So others take the exact opposite approach and say, no, when Mashiach comes, you're going to go to the last body. The last body is the one that did the completion, and that's the Iker, that's the main thing. Livy Yitzchak of Arditchev has some fascinating idea where basically says, each mitzvah and each avera corresponds to a different limb. The idea of Ramach Evarim, the idea is that you have 248 positive mitzvahs, they correspond to the different limbs that you have, and therefore he says what I would call like the Mr. Potato Head approach. And basically when you come back, from this life, you did well with this arm, from life, 3, great, you come back with that arm, and then you did well with this certain life for this leg, you come back with this leg. What that looks like, I don't know, but that's basically the way he conveys it. I don't know, more to discuss, I guess, on the topic. Okay, we'll come back, we'll finish up this piece on Gilgulim, Derech Hashem, tomorrow. Okay.